Hello everyone and welcome back to the SteemTrail Gaming podcast. Today is the 10th June of 2018. My name is Kralizec and I will be one of your hosts for the evening. The second host is Tygergamer. Hey Tiger, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. How about you?
I'm doing sufficiently fine. I thank you for asking. Oh man, I don't think I've ever seen you outside during the podcast. Hope you're having some nice weather.
No, it's actually a little bit overcast. It rained a few hours ago, but hey,
Oh,
I thought I'd do a
we've had
podcast
like
outside.
running storms for like 3 days in a row here. So if we have any technical difficulties, I apologize in advance.
Yeah, same here. I don't know if it'll rain here again yet or not. So.
Oh, worst case scenario, just run inside.
Well, actually, where I'm at is I'm on a balcony and there's a roof over it, so
Oh.
it should be good.
Well, either way, we're not here to talk about weather. We're not Englishmen.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about video games.
Yes.
So, you know what? I'll go first this week. So I finished my review and playthrough of Unworthy, and I gotta say, man, that game is freaking hard. Like, literally, and the bosses are just insane. I don't know. Have you seen any of my Let's Play on The Surge?
No, I have not, but I've been meaning to pick it up because it's on sale right now.
Yeah, and I recommend that. So, to give you an example, I needed like 20 to 30 tries on each boss in The Surge.
Dang.
Here, I needed like 100 to 150.
Dang.
The bosses are uncompromising here. Like, and they're super deceptive. They start all of them. Even the first boss has like phases, but they aren't like super visible. It's not like suddenly he whips out another arm and you know you're in the next phase. They just start using extra abilities at certain points of their health. And even that's not like clearly visible, like, you know, there would be a different meter starting or something. But they usually start like super simple, like using 1, maybe 2 abilities. So you're like, okay, I can do this. And then suddenly they're using like 6, 8 different abilities, like in a row. And you're like, holy fuck, like, what's going on? He wasn't doing this like 2 seconds ago. And adjusting to that is super complex, at least for me. And I know I'm not the greatest guy when it comes to playing these sort of games, but I've managed to beat The Surge. I've managed to beat Celeste, even all the hard levels. I think I'm not that bad at games, but I've been getting wrecked at Unworthy. But you know what?
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, shoot, in comparison, like, me in Dark Souls, so far, I think I'm like on the 5th or 6th boss. I'm back at the Undead Asylum, fighting the Stray Demon.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that's like the 6th boss. And all the bosses I've fought so far, him and the Gargoyle are like the 2 bosses that have given me trouble. That's about it.
So yeah, here, I think this is actually harder than Dark Souls. And I think it has to do with the fact that it's a 2D game, and you're lacking that, you know, option to go left and right. You only have, no, not left and right, but you know what I mean, like to use the movement on the plane. Because here you can literally move only left and right. You don't even have the ability to jump. You can dodge, obviously.
Yeah.
But, man, it's just been hard, and... But on the other hand, it's been incredibly fair. Like, you never feel like the game is punishing you. It's you being bad. And to all the Dark Souls fans, if you just like this, what I would call a subgenre of RPGs, get Unworthy right now. It's definitely worth your time. The only complaint I think I had to it is I wish it had better music.
Hmm.
And I know that's like a super nitpicky thing, but this game just deserved some really epic gothic music. And at least in the portions of the game I played through, it didn't have them. Maybe it gets better as you're playing along.
Yeah.
But as I said in a review, for the time I played it, it was essentially there, and it didn't, it didn't give me the chills.
Hmm.
So,
Okay.
either way, if you want to like see more of my opinion, that I have a review of that on my channel, both on my YouTube channel and the Steam channel. So, if anybody's interested, you can go and watch that straight away.
Okay.
So, what about you? What have you been playing this week?
Well, me, I've only got to play one game, and this game kind of flew under my radar. I didn't realize it came out almost 2 weeks ago. It's called Moonlighter.
Okay. What's it about?
It's pretty much like it's kind of like reminiscent of like Zelda, but instead of you being like the adventurer or the hero, you play as a shopkeeper.
Okay.
Who by day works in the shop and sells your items, and by night you're gonna explore the set dungeons, collect more items, sell in your shop the next day.
Okay, that sounds pretty interesting. So I'm
Yeah, it is,
looking at the images right now, and graphically it actually reminds me from the game I played last week, Wizards of Legend. How does the combat work here?
Well, it's pretty much like an overhead type thing. If you can see the screenshots there, pretty much you have your attack button, your block button, and your dodge button, and also your item usage button as well. If you want to like take potions or whatever, and so yeah, you can dodge around and take your enemies. Silent enemies actually have knockback, which can knock you into the pits, and you can lose some health.
So that does also actually sound pretty similar to Wizard of Legend, to be honest.
But yeah, the game is actually pretty hard. Like in the dungeons, like when you like find like a chest of items, you actually like modifiers on them, saying like this item can only be put at the top of your pack or the bottom of your pack, or it can only be put on the left or right of your pack.
So it has like a cart thing going on? Because they're talking about packs.
No, I'm talking about your backpack.
Oh, okay.
Inventory.
Okay, that sounds pretty weird. How does that work?
Well, since you're a shopkeeper, you gotta decide what items you want to sell in your shop the next day. Because the items you collect in the dungeon, you can actually use to sell those in your shop to gain more gold.
And what do you use the gold for? For upgrading your character?
Yep, upgrading your equipment, upgrading your shop, and even investing in new shops to come into your village.
So that's actually a pretty interesting theme going on. I'm sad I didn't try that out. I'm sure that would have been fun for me.
Yeah, oh yeah. And also, not to mention, it's also like a roguelike as well, where if you die in a dungeon, you don't necessarily start all over in the game, but you do you have like layers of your backpack, of your inventory, and if you die, the items like on the very top of your inventory, those are the items you keep if you die. The rest you lose when you die.
So you gotta interesting choice.
Be careful. Whenever you go into another room in the dungeon, you either got to decide, okay, do I want to go to this next room, or do I want to leave because I'm low on health? So. And
when it comes to the enemies, does it just have like regular enemies, or does it also include bosses and these things?
Unfortunately, I'm only still in like the first dungeon, which is kind of like Golem dungeon. So pretty much have like stone enemies and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I heard, yeah, you do get to fight bosses.
But you're just bad.
So actually, no, I'm actually just building up my shop right now. So
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So, which part do you think is like the bigger focus? Is it the combat part or the shopkeeper part?
I would say it's a mixture of both. But since being a shopkeeper in this game,
Mm-hmm.
since it's a new concept to me, I've actually been finding more enjoyment out of that than actually going into the dungeons.
Yeah, I
That's
actually might take a look at that, and that actually sounds like it could be interesting to a few of my friends. So I might try to recommend it to them and to get them to try it out.
yeah. For
You,
me,
you know
Cosmo
Inertia,
Electron,
right?
I've heard him. Yeah.
I think he would enjoy it quite a lot. It seems like a perfect game for him.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah. It costs $20 on both console and PC, so it's a little bit pricey, but I think it's actually worth it just for the concept alone
Hmm.
of being a shopkeeper in an adventure game. So
Yeah, that sounds super cool. So, there's two more games that I've played this week, and I think I can bundle them together because my opinion
okay.
of them is pretty much the same. So the first one is the game I recommended to take a look at last week, Anti-Graviator, which is still, I think, a horrible name. And the other is called The Carters. And they're both racing games. One takes, Anti-Graviator is your super fast ship that flies on a
Yeah.
gravitational ship. And Carters is Mario Kart, essentially. Really, it's so freaking obvious. It's Mario Kart. But both games suffer from the same problem. They are boring. And that, I think, is a pretty big thing when it comes to games. That's a pretty big problem. So, let me start by Anti-Graviator. The game, first of all, it looks really great. And I even played it in the split screen mode, and it's actually very playable in split screen. And split screen is a thing I look often for in games because I love playing games with my girlfriend, and she has a laptop, she has a computer, but I'll be honest with you, those are both pretty shit. So if we want to play games at decent quality, we have to play them on my computer. So if we have the option to play in split screen, we will play them here on my computer. Be very happy about it. And she said, "Oh, this game looks lovely," and it does. It really does look lovely. It's using the Unreal Engine. The problem is the controls. They don't feel responsive enough, I think, and that's causing it to not have the impact you would have like on a racing game. So to give you an example of like what's my favorite racing game ever, I think it's still Need for Speed Underground 2. And whenever you like go into a corner in that game, and I'm not a big fan of like hardcore racing games like Life for Speed or something like that, but even in these casual arcade racers, I think feeling the weight of your car like in a turn is pretty important. You know, just like you're like driving and you're like, "Oh, turn, please make that corner," and then you're like, "Yes, I made it." Here you just don't feel this. This feeling is never there. You're like, "Yay, I made that corner and my car is doing exactly what I wanted to." You never feel like you're out of control.
Yeah.
And I think racing games should always feel like you're on the verge of losing control. Because that's the exciting part in them. And even if I should compare it to something that's not totally a racing game, but Rocket League, you can always feel like, okay, I need to make this turn exactly this way, otherwise the car won't do exactly what I want it to, and even just being half a second late in your turn will make the game play out completely differently.
Yeah.
Here, no, it just feels like you could just essentially hold the accelerate button, and yes, you would lose because you would be crashing into the walls all the time.
Yeah.
Like the feeling you would get from driving would be pretty much the same. And I just don't like it. And the other one, the Carters. Here, again, the game is just boring. But here I think it's for a different reason. Here I think is because everything seems small. So we all know that the golden standard for kart games is Mario Kart. I don't think there would be a single gamer that would be disputing that. And I haven't been playing much of Mario Kart ever. Really, the only version I've played like sufficiently enough of is actually the GameCube version, because my neighbor has it and my father and him played like when they're having a coffee, and sometimes I would come along. I'm not a big fan of kart games, but first of all, Carters is a super obvious clone. You know, we have power-ups in boxes appearing above the screen. Yeah. And the power-ups are like a banana, like a boost, like a rocket that's guided, and a rocket that's unguided. You know, it's Mario Kart with different graphics. But when you're playing Mario Kart, you feel like every move you make and everything that's on the screen has that, you know, like scale to it. If I'm making sense.
Yeah.
Here, first of all, the kart is super small on the screen. Like, let's say this is my screen. The kart would be like this big. Like, it fits only like 1/10 of the screen.
Yeah.
And the other problem I had with it is actually with the power-ups. Though this might have just been super random number generator. I've only gotten 2 of the power-ups through like an hour of gameplay.
Wow.
Which seems like either ridiculously unlucky or the game is rigged in some way.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
So I was like, but I want to try out the different power-ups. And the game's like, no, you get a booster, or you get essentially the banana. I was like, great, I'm in the last place. What is the banana use gonna do for me? And when I was first, I was constantly getting the booster. I was like, what? I don't get this. So, when it comes to Anti-Graviator, if you're looking for a racing game you can play in split screen, and you're really big on like sci-fi stuff, sure, you can go for it. It's not that bad. It's not great. What's the price on it? It's $21 right now. Normally it's 23 bucks. It's not bad. It even has the option to play as 4 people on a single screen. So if you're looking for like a party game and you know your guys like racing games, sure. When it comes to the Carters, I can't truly recommend it like to anyone. You would probably be better off just to going into a thrift store, buying a GameCube for like $5 and playing Mario Kart on a GameCube. Like, seriously. And the Carters are available for $15, normally for $17. And I truly believe you can just get that. For that price, you can get a... Plus, when I'm looking at the reviews, people complaining about seeing tons of bugs, crashes. I didn't have anything like that. The game looks nice. I think for small children it would be fine, but Mario will serve him better.
Yeah.
So that's all I got to say about the games I've played this week. Got anything
Same
else
here.
to say?
No, I do not.
Then, so we had actually a bit of a conundrum this week. You guys will know E3 is happening at this very moment.
Yes.
And the E3 EA conference has already took place.
Yes.
And our conundrum was how exactly we should report on E3. And we decided that we will talk about the EA conference today, somewhat. And we will do a special episode of the podcast on Wednesday, the usual time. So if you guys want to hear our opinions on E3, be sure to tune in on Wednesday, where you can hear us talk more about all of the conferences, including EA. But let's do a quick summary of the EA stuff this year.
Yeah.
So you go first. Tell me, like, if you would be to summarize it in one sentence, what would you call it?
I'd call it a conference full of crap with a few notable games, but that's about it.
I don't think it was full of crap. I think I personally would call it Apology Festival.
Yeah, that too.
Like the amount of apologizing, and actually rightfully so, like the apologizing was needed.
Yes.
Was insane. There was a bit too much talking for my taste. I would have preferred to see more gameplay out of the games.
Yeah.
But we got to see the usual sport games, Battlefield, Anthem, the stuff everybody expected.
Yep.
But we got to see three things that nobody expected. So let's start with the good ones first. So I'll talk first about Unravel, I think.
Yes.
So Unravel is an indie game about a yarn character. And they decided to make a sequel to it, and I'm actually very happy about that because I enjoyed the shit out of Unravel. And the biggest surprise here was the fact that it was released immediately. It's already available. It costs $20 right now. And it's a co-op game.
Yeah.
It surprised me. So, I'm probably going to get this. I'm hoping to force my girlfriend to play this with me in a co-op mode.
There you go. There you go.
I might try to make a let's play out of this, but I'll see whether I can force it because it's her exams period, so she doesn't have that much time.
Yeah.
So I might like have it as a surprise for her once all the exams are done. You know, like it's your school year is done. Come have some fun with me.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I got the first Unravel sitting on my PS4, which I have not played yet, but I need to.
Yeah,
and I might also, and I'll also get this game a try, and since I'm down here with my sisters, I might get one of them to play with me on Unravel 2. So.
Yeah, that's a good option.
Yeah. Really
good option.
Yeah.
So yeah, you want to talk about the second good game from EA this year?
Oh yeah, yep. This is also an indie game from EA Originals called a Sea of Solitude. SOS for short. Pretty much, it deals with loneliness and depression. And I mean, shoot, the biggest moment that for me that out of this conference was that woman that came out talking about the game. She seemed so passionate about this project that she came up with, and I can't wait to see what it comes up to be.
So I definitely want to see what this project is, and it looked interesting. I had a problem with the way they presented it. The woman was obviously very passionate, and I loved her German English. It was so German.
Yeah.
But I think this presentation perfectly showcased this year's EA's presentation. It was too
Yeah.
much talk and not enough showing us.
Yeah.
So the woman, she talked for like 20 minutes, it felt like. And then we get to see like a minute of gameplay.
Yeah.
And I just don't know what to expect from the game. Is it an adventure game? Is it like an action adventure game? Is it a puzzle game? I really don't know. And I would love to see more from the technical point of view.
Yeah.
Not from the
also,
story of how it was conceived.
Yeah. And also, another thing during this EA's Originals segment of the conference, he also announced that Hazelight Studios did so well with Way Out that they were able to expand their studio.
Oh yeah,
good on them.
That's good news. Hopefully they don't force them into corporate shit.
Yeah.
That's the part that's scaring me.
Yeah.
Okay, and last of all, there's the big controversial thing of this year's EA conference.
Yeah.
Command and Conquer Rivals. So I know I'm going to rant about it, so I'll let you go first.
Honestly, I have no history with the Command and Conquer games, but from what I saw here, honestly, I wasn't that interested in it. Actually, to be honest with you, I missed EA's conference yesterday, so I had to catch up with it last night because I was traveling. And when I saw this, I was like, okay. I watched like a minute of it, and I just got on to the next big thing.
And I think that was something what a lot of people do, or did.
Yeah.
So I'll start my rant. So first of all, I fucking love Westwood Studios. I seriously do. So they are the creators of the real-time strategy genre with Dune 2. And I'm a fucking huge Dune fan. You see that poster behind me over there? That's a Arrakis. The spice must flow. I'm a Dune nerd. I've read the books like 20 times, and I'm so glad that Dune, when it's first, well, not first, but its biggest gaming introduction, was in a great game. And also the fact that I got to play a ton of Tiberium Sun with my father when I was younger, because it was one of the few games he loved, which is one of the Command and Conquer games. This is not the spirit of Command and Conquer games. So the game essentially is a clone of Clash Royale. Which brings me to my second point of anger. I was a pretty big fan of Clash Royale. It was one of the few mobile games I ever truly enjoyed. It was competitive, it was good to play. Yes, it had tons of pay-to-win mechanics, but it was on mobile, so yeah. And I was actually pretty good at it. I could always reach around 4,000 trophies at the end of each season. I haven't played it for like a few months now at this point. My girlfriend still plays it. She's at around 4,000 trophies actually herself. But this game, I think they like saw the commercial success of Clash Royale and the fact that it's essentially the biggest mobile esport, technically.
Yeah.
And they wanted to cash in on that. Like, to be one of the first companies that goes into the mobile market and makes an esport out of it. Because I do believe that at least part of the future is in mobile gaming. And while I don't like it, I think it's just unavoidable.
Yeah, it is.
But this game doesn't catch the spirit of Command and Conquer, and it doesn't catch the spirit of Clash Royale either. So, I don't know, have you played it, like, Clash Royale at all?
No, I'm not.
Well,
But, thinking back on it now,
Mm-hmm.
I think I did. This is like a long time ago. I think I did play like a demo of one of the Command and Conquer games, and yeah, I thought this announcement was. I was like, eh.
So the problem when it comes when it comes to Command and Conquer, I think it's fairly obvious why it isn't in the spirit of the games at all. But when it comes to Clash Royale, I think here it's harder to decipher it for people who haven't played it much, and it's because, well, in Clash Royale, your goal is essentially to destroy the other person's tower. The same way here, your goal is to destroy the other person's base. But in Clash
Yeah,
Royale, you have 2 towers on the side, and then one big castle in the middle. And you can either win by just, attrition, by destroying one of the person's towers and having none of your destroyed, or you can make a 3 crown win and just destroy all their towers by destroying their king
yeah,
tower. Here, your goal is to control a center point and then launch 2 nukes at your opponent. The problem with
hmm,
that, and I think it was painfully obvious because they had like a showdown between Nick at Night and one other person during the press conference. And Nick of Night is actually a pretty big player of Clash Royale. I don't think either of them really understood what the point of this game is. The point, and it's deceptive because it seems to like, okay, I need to control these points to gain control of the nuke. Thus, you would assume your goal is to hold the point for as long as possible. But I don't think that's the point because it's not determined where the nuke shoots by the percentage of the time you spent on the point. It's determined by who's on the point at the moment when it fires.
yeah,
Thus, I think the point of the game is to amass the biggest freaking army you can and attack the point just a little moment before it is supposed to launch. And they were obviously battling over points, for like as long as I can. Oh, I want to be the first one there. But there's no point in that. You're just wasting resources.
hmm,
So I don't think the game will be a success. I truly don't think it will be a success. Because most of the time, it will just be the person who hoards the biggest army and he wins.
hmm,
And because essentially 2 quarters of the game will just be hoarding resources and building an army, not strategizing and having small engagements like in
yeah,
StarCraft, for example. It won't be interesting for strategy players. It won't be interesting for Clash Royale people because they already invested so much money and
yeah,
time into that. They would rather play that.
yeah.
I
And it's
think it will be a
also worth
flop.
noting, yeah, but it's also worth noting, if somehow if you are interested in playing this, and if you're on Android, you can go and play the alpha right now if you're somewhat interested in this.
Yeah, I'm actually planning to play the alpha because next weekend I'm going to a music festival. And obviously, I can't really bring my PC to a music festival. But I can bring my
Yeah,
cell phone. So I will download the alpha and play it when, in the morning when I'm waiting for the bands. And play it then.
yeah,
And make a bit more of my opinion on that. And I can maybe tell you whether I think it's just bad or not next week.
yeah.
So, any end thoughts on the E3 conference?
Uh, I'd say it was lackluster, and like you said, they told a lot of stuff, but they didn't show a lot of stuff.
I think I'd ended with it could have been worse.
Yeah, that too. But me personally, every E3, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's press conference. let's go and watch this. Don't really care.
Yeah, EA, they're too big at this point.
Yeah.
So, moving on away from E3 for a moment, and again, if you want to hear more of our thoughts on E3, be sure to tune in at Wednesday when we will have a show specifically targeted at the rest of the E3 conferences. But now let's talk about this week's news. Starting with something pretty shitty. So, Tyler Carpenter, who is a Battletech developer, and he also worked on such titles as Shadowrun Hong Kong and Shadow Mortar, was accused of multiple accounts of sexual harassment and admitted that it is all true. So, essentially, more specifically, what he was accused, and essentially it seems he did, is that he had some inappropriate comments. He was too persistent of being romantic and sexually attracted, even groped somebody, and obviously I think we should start with this. Yeah, this is bad. Pretty obviously. He also stated that he's been seeking psychological help since January. He left the company he worked at because he said that the company, HBS, doesn't stand for any of the bullshit he has been doing. One of his victims, Jessica Pride, essentially said that he's a gaslighter, assaulter, and a harassing abuser. So, again, this is bad. Nobody should do it. Nobody's arguing that sexual harassment is bad. At least among us, as far as I know.
Yeah.
But there is a part for which I'm pretty sure I will get some flack. That's the fact that why haven't his victims came out right after this happened and went to the authorities?
Yeah, really.
This is the part that pisses me off so much about this whole current thing around sexual harassment. And I'm not blaming them for getting sexually harassed. But there's one thing I actually do blame them for. I blame them for the women that get harassed after them. They could have stopped it by reporting him.
Yep.
But they didn't. And I truly believe they're not like to blame in the sense that it is their fault.
Yep.
But it's like, you know there's a person who's going on murdering people. You don't go like, yeah, that's his thing. You go to the police and you report it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that hard of a concept to grasp, I think. And while I'm sure we will get some flack over saying this, it is important that if you're a person who is getting sexually harassed, that you take it to the proper authorities. Whether it's the HR department, whether it's the police, whether it's, I don't know, just your boss, if there's no HR department. Report it to somebody.
But then also say this too, and I know I get some flack for this too, but don't go. I know, like some people, they actually like go around falsely accusing people of sexual harassment when they actually did not get sexually harassed. That's also
I think that's as bad as sexual harassment itself.
Yes, it is.
And one more thing I think we should mention, which I think doesn't get mentioned often enough. Don't go doing any mob justice.
Yeah.
This is why we have legal systems, and this is why you should report it, so the people can get punished by the legal system. And enforcing mob punishment is, again, bad, in my opinion.
Yep.
Okay. let's move on from this super optimistic, non-controversial topic into something more controversial, and that is censorship. So some of you guys might remember, it was like 2 weeks ago when we talked about the fact that Steam suddenly started to send out letters to a few companies that were making visual novels that their games are essentially going to be banned from Steam unless they get recreated and, you know, the sexual content gets away from them.
Yep.
And the community, rightfully so, had a pretty big backlash against this. And Valve, with their Steam platform, has backpedaled and decided that their policies will be totally different. More specifically, it will essentially be everything goes as long as it is legal or not obviously trolly. So there are two parts to this. I think we can both agree on the fact that obviously illegal games are okay if they don't appear. So I think that would include things like child pornography, zoophilia, calls to violence, these sort of things. There's only one point of contention I have with this, and that is I would love to Steam or Valve to come out and say on which country's legal system they will be basing what is legal. But apart from that, I have zero problems with this.
Yeah. My guess, since, you know, they're an international company, Steam is, my guess is, depending on what country you're in, and you have Steam, that's what country they're basing the legal system off of.
Well, that's very hard because you need to remember that the Steam libraries, it's not like country specific. It's not like, oh, you're from Germany, you'll get to only see these games. If you're from Germany, you get to see exactly the same games as American gamers. So I think it will be probably based on American law, though if ever the European Union takes a look at them, they might to go with European law. And European law is much more draconic compared to American law when it comes to censorship. But then there's the other part, and that's what exactly are troll games? That's a hard one. What exactly constitutes a game that is purely a troll? So we actually had a bit of a explanation coming out after 5 games have been banned from the Steam shop after these new policies have been implemented. These games in question were AIDS Simulator, ISIS Simulator, Suicide Simulator, Acid Flip Simulator, and Triggering Simulator. Just to give a mention, all of these companies are from the same developer, a bunch of dudes, and their reason is they were purely designed to do nothing but generate outrage and cause conflict through their existence. And while I don't think that is a sufficient explanation of what a troll game is, I can see the logic, at least partially. So if it's really just truly games that aren't essentially games, they aren't making any sort of statement, they aren't good because of their mechanics or anything, but they're just trying to cash in on a buzzword, I can agree with that being a troll game.
Yeah.
But again, I would love to see a better wording. Just give us specific details. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think this statement that games that are there only to generate outrage, is that sufficient for you?
Well, honestly, any game can, well, yeah, pretty much, yeah, it is. But one of the things, though, like, I know Steam's a big platform on the PC, but I said this once, I'll say it again. One of the beauties of being on PC is you have all these different platforms that you can go to, not just Steam.
Mhm.
So if like a developer wants to release that game, they can release it on another site
Or
that
they
will
can just
allow that kind of
release
crap.
it just on their own site in the end.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the beauties of being on PC. So
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I totally forgot to put that into my thoughts. But let's stay on this topic for one more moment, and let's talk about industry reactions to the new Steam Store policy that's essentially everything goes. So some people were against it, some people were for it. So let's start with, for example, Romero. You know John Romero.
yeah,
So with his, I essentially agree. He said, "I choose to leave stuff I consider hateful and horrible on the table. I don't want Steam to make that decision for me," as he said,
yeah,
VG24/7. And his additional remark was actually, I think, really good. He said, "In the history of games, some of our most important works have been deemed highly offensive by broad swaths of the world. Games like Grand Theft Auto, Wolfenstein, Doom, Mortal Kombat, Bully, which had the first same-sex kiss, God of War, which had sex, or even The Sims, which, initially didn't allow same-sex characters to become a couple because
yeah,
of the outrage of the Christian right in America.
yeah.
Yeah, these games were super influential, and they were also highly controversial. Actually,
Mm,
no, Wolfenstein wasn't allowed to be released in Germany with swastikas
yeah,
because they just ban everything that's connected to Nazi history.
yeah. And in all honesty,
Mm-hmm.
I know, like, yeah, Nazis are bad, but my own opinion towards that is, hey, if you want to better yourself as a country, you need to know where you come from to better yourself.
Yeah, that's an important point too often that too often gets forgotten.
Yes.
Uh, Interestingly, some of the developers were against this policy, essentially arguing for the fact that moderation, not in terms of like being moderate, but like having a moderator, is important.
Yeah.
And there was a pretty big Twitter argument between two guys. One of them was essentially arguing that yes, this is a good thing because I don't trust corporations with being moral. And the other one,
Yeah.
who is an indie game developer and also a university lecturer, was the one arguing that, well, but we need to moderate stuff, otherwise the bad stuff will get there as well.
Hmm.
I personally tend to agree with the guy who doesn't trust corporations with being moral.
Yeah. Same here.
That's because I don't think that should be the goal of corporations.
Yeah.
And it certainly isn't at the very moment. And let's say we give partial credit to the university lecturer and say that, yes, the quote unquote invisible hand of the market isn't sufficient.
Yeah.
I think if there should be an authority, it should be the state.
Hmm.
And my reasoning for that is at least there we elect the people who will decide our moral
Yeah.
guidelines.
Me personally, I think it should just be up to the consumer. If you don't like a game on the service, just don't buy it. Don't play it. Vote with
Yeah,
your wallet.
I think that would be an ideal state, but if we were talking about putting in some sort of a moderator, I think it would be better if it was the state rather than the corporations.
Me, I don't trust neither the state nor the corporation. So
Well, yeah,
That's just me.
but the thing is, you can at least somewhat influence who is in charge of the state.
Yeah, true.
But you cannot do that to corporations at all.
Yeah.
And I think it's slightly better if it is the state rather than the corporations, just because of that reason alone.
Yep.
I know it's not the best solution, but you know, life is about compromises, and if we have to have some sort of moderator, I would prefer if it was the state rather than the corporations.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about another thing. Let's actually talk about something that isn't controversial, but it's highly weird. So, if any of you guys are actually investors as well as gamers, you might have noticed that Nintendo stock prices have plummeted this week. Like, by 20% almost. More like 16% to be honest, but still by a freaking insane amount. And nobody really knows why. So they went from 51.34 on June 30th to 45.90 on June 6th. They've grown a little bit. Right now they're at 47.52.
Yeah.
But it was just an insane drop. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people often like to gripe about cryptocurrencies being unstable.
Yeah.
This was exactly the same thing. Like, totally the same thing. But, I don't think I have an explanation for it. Do you have any tip of why this could have happened? Like, from an investor's point of view?
No, I do not. But yeah, since it was the day Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, I do think that even though that seems like a best makes sense from a investment standpoint, I do think that might have had something to do with it, but it seems like the price is going back up, so.
Yeah. The only, like, feasible explanation I ever... by the way, your camera's doing weird shit.
I know. Yeah, I have to move real quick because my phone's like at 5%, so I'm trying to keep it from...
dying, I understand.
Yeah.
So, in the meantime, I'm going to say not mine, but the only feasible explanation I have heard at the moment is essentially investors are afraid that Nintendo has played all their cards before E3.
Yeah.
Because we know, well, we don't know, but we have heard rumors that Fortnite is coming. We know that there's a Super Smash Brothers game coming. We know that Pokemon is coming to the Switch. What else that is really big could be left for the Switch?
Well, we also know Smash Brothers is coming out, but we don't know what that's going to be like, so...
Yeah, but we know it's coming out, and, you know, there's a difference between a consumer's point of view and an investor's point of view.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, which I'm not an investor.
Yeah, me either. But, I think that the possibility of investors being scared that other companies might be able to generate more buzz compared to Nintendo might be the cause of this, but...
Yeah, could be.
But on the other hand, Nintendo has had such a great year. You know...
Oh, yeah.
I just don't see, like, a financial incentive towards just... dropping almost 20% in stock price.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty much all on this topic. Let's move on to the next one. We're actually moving on to the good news of this week.
Yeah.
So many of you guys might be familiar with the Bad Robot brand, which is partially owned by J.J. Abrams, who is a well-known movie producer
Yeah.
Pretty much best known for creating Alias, Lost, the Star Trek reboots, and the 2015 Star Wars Force Awakens.
Yes.
And he's now decided to go into the world of gaming as he has created a new branch of his Bad Robot studio, Bad Robot Games, which will focus on making games for PC, console, and mobile. He himself waited on this new thing, and he said, "I'm a massive games fan and increasingly envious of the amazing tools developers get to work with and the worlds they get to play in. Now we're doubling down on our commitment to this space with a unique co-development approach to game making that allows us to focus on what we do best and hopefully be a meaningful multiplier to our developer partners. Dave's creativity, deep passion, and skillful leadership will be incredibly valuable as we harness our partners' Tencent's expertise, experience, and reach to bring our games to audiences around the world." So I forgot to mention they're partnering with Tencent to a degree, at least when it comes to the Chinese market and in general. I've actually had a big article or video on Tencent. If I know you've seen that.
Yeah, I did.
So Tencent is just somewhat scary at this point.
Yeah, it is.
But as I said at the end of that, so far they have been a force for the good, I think.
Yeah.
But what I want to talk about here, and I want to hear your opinion on, is I think this is super great for gaming in general. For two reasons. So first of all, this might bring some of the big Hollywood IPs to gaming quicker, better, and easier.
Yes, I agree.
And the second one is the opposite. I think this might bring some of the big gaming IPs into the world of the silver screen. And I've talked about this a few times. I do truly believe that once the age of comic book movies ends, and it will end one day because people will get tired of them, Hollywood will be looking for a new source of summer blockbuster stories.
Yeah.
And I want it to be gaming. Like, I truly want to. And the fact that big people from Hollywood are, with J.J. Abrams, starting to look into the world of gaming suggests to me that they are maybe realizing it as well. So I wonder, what would be the IP you would love to see on, like the gaming IP that you would love to see on the silver screen?
Me personally, and since I'm a big fan of it, I would love to see Fallout.
Yeah, Fallout is a good choice, I think, certainly. And it also has the potential to be done well on the silver screen.
Yes.
It could be like a psychological thriller, you know, just focus on one of the creepy ass vaults.
Yeah, and I know what vault they could do a movie on. I forgot the number, but there's like one vault in the Fallout universe where like every so often, like the dwellers of the vault would have to sacrifice one of their own just to keep on going. Otherwise, they would all die if they didn't sacrifice a person.
Well, I personally would prefer to see it on a vault of which we know nothing about.
Yeah, true. That'd be
so
cool
they could do, you know, like a completely original story. But with the fact that we know that there has been some crazy ass shit done in the vaults, that could be super easy to do.
Oh yeah.
I would also love to see Gothic transformed into a movie. That would be my own personal favorite. Or going slightly further into the past, either of the old Might and Magic RPGs. That would be awesome. But truly, there are so many gaming IPs that could be just transformed into amazing movies if done well.
Yep.
But the
I
hard
agree.
part here is to do it well.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our second to last piece of news. Let's talk about PlayVS, which is a high school esports startup. Their goal was essentially to make esports a similar thing to regular sports in high schools with, you know, like scholarships, etc., etc.
Yeah.
This is a truly American thing. It's not a thing here in Europe, to be honest. Maybe in Britain, but certainly not here in Czech Republic. The best you can hope, if you're like playing sports at a professional level in high school, the best you can hope for is to get an individual plan so you don't have to be in school all the time and you can focus on training.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, in America, it's a fucking huge deal.
Oh yeah.
And they managed to raise $15 million for some pretty big ass venture capital groups, but also from like people like the San Francisco 69ers, Twitch co-founder
49ers.
Kevin, what? Oh, 49ers.
49ers.
Sorry, misspoke. Twitch co-founder Kevin Lin, from Los Angeles Chargers, Russell O'King, or Baron Davis from NBA. Like some truly big names. And I think this is a good thing. While I don't think esports will ever be as big as regular sports are.
Yeah.
For several different reasons. One of them being the fact that I don't think you know, when it comes to sports, you can have, I don't know, let's say basketball. It exists in essentially the same format for a century or more. But games will usually last for 10 years, the most, if they're really lucky.
Oh, yeah.
And they get replaced pretty quickly. So, gauging what exactly will the next big thing be is pretty hard. So I think that will make esports like a harder thing to make as big as sports are.
Yeah.
But I'm truly happy to see this happening. And while I'm not a person who, you know, is a big fan of esports, it's a good thing, I think.
Oh yeah, it is.
Would you like to get a scholarship for being a pro player of video games?
If I was, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay, so let's move on to our last piece of news. As you might guess, this is our weekly Fortnite corner.
Yeah.
This week we have more of a public announcement. So there's a new scam going on. This time, it's targeted at the weakest. It's targeted at the children, as we have a report published by the Daily Telegraph. That's a British newspaper. Advertisements that are being posted very often on social media and on YouTube offer free V-Bucks, which is the in-game currency in Fortnite. And this time they aren't targeting personal information as much as they were doing in the previous instances of Fortnite scams we were reporting on.
Yes.
This time they're directly going after your money. More often than not, they're actually going after your parents' money because they're targeting small children. So this is just a warning. If your children are playing Fortnite, be sure to warn them not to click on any of these ads.
Yeah.
If they want something to be bought in Fortnite, that they need to talk to you, that if somebody tells them they can get something for free, it's not true. It's the same old story. Yeah. If somebody offers your kid ice cream, he probably doesn't want to give them ice cream, but probably wants to rape the shit out of them.
Yeah.
But this time they want to rape the shit out of your wallet.
Yeah.
Okay, and that brings us to the conclusion when it comes to the news of this week. And unless you have something you would like to add, Tyler.
No. That's pretty much it.
Thus, let's move on to the last section of our podcast. Let's talk about our recommendations.
Yes.
So, I think we can both agree that Unravel 2 is something that everybody should check out.
Most definitely.
Currently available on Origin for the low price of 19.99 euros or United States dollars. I hate the fact that you always get a better deal. Because euro is worth more than dollar. And I think that's a fair price for this game.
Oh, yeah.
What's your other recommendation for this week?
Well, also, this game that you brought up that I totally almost forgot about, that Lego Incredibles.
Oh, yeah. Yes. People might forget, but Lego games are actually good games.
Yes.
And who the fuck doesn't love The Incredibles?
Yeah, really.
If you don't like them, you're weird, man.
Yeah, oddly enough, my 17-year-old sister, she actually grew up watching the first one. So
yeah, this is coming out on the 15th. Right now you can pre-purchase it. It's actually only $40, which I think is a good price for a Lego game. I'm glad it's not $60. I just started to rain here. So yeah, The Incredibles. Lego The Incredibles. And also go watch the fucking second installment of the movie.
Yes. And if you haven't seen the first one, go and watch that.
Because it's great, man.
Yeah.
Okay, you got anything else you want to recommend?
No, how about you?
I got one more. This game is called Sky Noon. And it is a game that's going to be coming into early access on the 14th. And it's a first-person shooter with brawler mechanics. But interestingly enough, the point isn't to kill the other person. Which might sound strange for a first-person shooter. The point is to push the other person away from the platforms because you're floating like high in the sky.
Yeah.
And you have like grapple hooks, so yeah, it's just about pushing and pulling, and it sounds pretty interesting. And I'm gonna take a look at it pretty sure this week.
Okay.
But that's all I have for this week.
Same here.
Thus, it is time to slowly bring this week's show to the end. Thus, it is time to do a bit of shilling. I think I'll begin this week, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
So you can find me at Kralizec Gaming on YouTube and at Kralizec at SteemTrail. I make gaming reviews and gaming commentaries. And if you want to, you can visit it.
And you can find me on YouTube as Tygergamer and on Steam at Tygergamer. I do Let's Plays, and I occasionally do give my thoughts on games that have come out or stuff that's going on in the industry. So.
And with that being said, that's going to be it for today, guys. We both hope you enjoyed today's show. And if you did, please consider giving us a thumbs up here on YouTube and subscribing to the channel.
Yes.
If you are watching on Steam, maybe you want to give us an upvote and follow the blog. Either way, be sure to leave a comment. Be sure to tune in tomorrow because the gaming news series returns. I'm going to not talk about E3 during the gaming news. So be warned.
Yeah.
And if you want to know our opinions on E3, be sure to tune in on Wednesday for a special episode of the SteemTrail Gaming podcast, as we will be talking all about E3.
Most definitely.
See you guys later with more gaming content.
Y'all have a good one.